Welcome, Grief Nation listeners, back to Grief Talk. Today, we're going to be talking about why some of African American men don't go to the doctor. And today, we're speaking with Dr. Virginia Price. Welcome. How are you?
Good morning, Miami. I'm doing wonderfully well. Thank you.
So glad to have you with us. Let's
Hi,
talk
Grief
about.
Nation.
Yay, thank you so much, Dr. Price. So let's talk about your journey of being a board certified staff chaplain and a ministerial position at Berean Christian Church.
Well, my board certification came kind of, I would say, almost as a fluke. I had completed my master's program in pastoral care, and I was looking for a place to further that training. Mm-hmm. So I applied at Emory Hospital for chaplaincy, and I was accepted. But I had that on the table plus another job, and the job paid money. The other one was an intern that didn't pay money. So I thought, okay, this is an easy fix. Let me take that didn't work. That didn't work. The job was teaching children, and children is not my first audience to teach or train. And so that lasted, I signed a contract that lasted about a year. So I went back to Emory to apply again because this thing with chaplaincy was so new. Let me pause. New to the African American community. Okay. It's been around a long, long time, but it hasn't until I guess the last 5 years started to diversify for all people, for hospitals, especially in hospices, for chaplains. They didn't look like me, so I didn't know what to expect. Mm-hmm. So I went back to Emory, and they were full. They take applications twice a year, and they had already fulfilled their allotment. So they said, well, why don't you go over to, at that time it was St. Joseph's Hospital. Now it's Emory. Went there, got accepted, and I tell you, when you know that you know.
Right.
So I had the training so that you go through an educational piece. It's called CPE, Clinical Pastoral Education. Some of you out there may know what that's all about. Where you're educated in so many things, but when the rubber hits the road is when you're in the rooms with patients that are in all kinds of crises or with their families. And so then how is that training? That's where that's so important comes in, how that training is going to help you.
Yes.
So the first night that I went in on my own, I got to witness or experience a death of someone who was not my family. And that was really unique. Not my family. How can I, so it kicked in. All the training experience kicked in. Mm-hmm. But when I left that experience, I knew without a doubt that was where I was supposed to be. And I never looked back. That was in 2010.
Okay.
And so the process for me, it goes by unit. Every internship and every residence, it's just like, I guess, the doctors. You have to do so many hours. Mm-hmm. So I have 9.5 units, and now I'm a board certified, which is equivalent to probably a master's if you look at the education. The work goes into it in the writing. Wow. So there's a few of us, and I had the opportunity just last month to sit on the board with other board certified chaplains for the process of gaining more chaplains. So
wow, that's
it's a wonderful experience. I love it.
Wow. And just like you said, there's not a lot of us in that field or don't even know about it, but I'm so glad that you were the chosen one to come deliver the word to us to tell us about it, because we need to see more of that. I mean, a lot of our families are in hospitals, and a lot of times, we just happen to get into a situation that we have to visit the hospital, but I would love to see more of us in that, our color, our culture, just being able to, adapt to learning that we are able to do that as well.
Yes.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
the information is so key, so important. And I must add, it's a lucrative vocation. The pay is very, very comparable to almost any other job. So, but that's where we think, I'm going to say this, my very favorite phrase is Hollywood and the movies has messed up the, I guess, the idea of what a chaplain does. And if anyone out there have ever been or experienced a chaplain, you know that it's more than just walking and praying when someone is going to die. That's not the concept of what chaplains do. So
tell us what the concepts are.
Okay, as CPE, you're trained in family systems. How to recognize the person who is in charge who may not look to be in charge. You are also experience group dynamics, all of that, how to get along and how to know what your strengths and weaknesses are, and how to just know about the ministry of presence. Just, it's okay to sit with someone. You don't have to always say something. You don't always have to pray, but be comfortable in that you are there for that person, and that changes the whole dynamic.
That's so amazing. That's beautiful. That is so beautiful. Now tell us about your ministerial position at Berean Christian Church.
It's a funny story, and I tell this all the time. So there was a ministry already I was a part of. I would give them at Berean Christian Church. There was not a ministry for bereavement, anything like that. And so my pastor, can I say his name?
Yes.
Pastor Kevin Lee was saying, okay, so we need to have that. And when I actually asked where was that in the church, he said, well, we don't have one. Why don't you start one? And that was the worst thing that I could have done. When you bring something to a pastor, he said, okay, you take charge of it. And so, but we had done that ministry, getting, grieving families and sending cards and condolences and being part of the homegoing celebration. So we did that, and it was more people coming into that ministry that was attracting other people. And that worked out really, really well for a couple of years. And then Pastor Kevin's had a death in his family, and he happened to go to one of the Griefshare. Griefshare is a world organization of grieving people. Yeah. And so the network does a wonderful job in many languages. Yes. So he went to one of the sessions with his family member, and he was so impressed with that. He said, well, since you're doing that, add this to it. And I did not want to, so I stalled. and so he came back around, when are you going to do that? And I stalled, and I said, okay, we're going to do that. We're just going to do it, and maybe he'll stop talking about it. Well, lo and behold, we got all the information, and it's a system where it works in a 3-part component. And I had not seen anything like this before. So what it is a video facilitated training. So you watch a video about 40 minutes, and it's an individual session each time. So it's a 13-week process. Okay. So each week you get something different. Yes. So you watch the video. There is a workbook that's attached to you purchase your workbook that's attached to the video, because you process what the video has said in your particular case. And then there is that group discussion with people who have grief, gone in certain same type of grief place that you've been. Wow. So you have that community of people who understand your grief, in that it may not be the same type, but you are in a place where you talk about it or don't talk about it. You just sit there and just absorb people who love you, who, whatever you want to say or do, those kinds of that you're not able to do out in the public. And if you want to talk, as long as you want to talk, how that grief made you feel, those emotions. Wow. That's how that's done.
Wow, that's amazing. That's an amazing program. Now, in your ministry, you have your own outreach, which is called N.O.W, which is No Other Way Outreach. Tell us about that. Let's talk about your
Okay, so in my master's program, I completed a dual master's over at ITC. I joined the Black Women in Ministerial Leadership. Mm-hmm. And in that, I felt the need. So this was allowed me to develop a ministry. Mm-hmm. And I chose at that time the ministry to single people. I'm single after 30 years of marriage. Mm-hmm. And so I developed this program. It's called Now Outreach Ministry. No other way but the Lord's way. And that's how I looked at my singleness. Mm-hmm. And as I talked to other singles, and they were having some similar challenges, that so it was easy for me to throw all of my energy into Now Outreach Ministry. And from that, and talking about singles, the Christian way, the way that the Bible instructs us to live, mm-hmm. It was so I was able to conceive and launch this ministry. And what it does now, it's been since I believe 2010, 9 or 10, that I've had panel discussions with married or unmarried people, mm-hmm. to talk about the differences and the challenges and the struggle. Yeah. So it's a good thing. It's like this: single people want to be married, and married people want to be single. Mm-hmm. So I believe in truth, honest and open conversation. Yes. That was the nugget that came out of the Now Outreach Ministry.
Wow. Now that we're talking about nugget, you've authored this amazing book you got, and I just want to show the cover. The cover to me was very inspiring. I don't know if we could.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I just wanted everybody to be able to have a reference once they're looking for the book. It's called Wisdom Nuggets. Sermons, Essays, Inspirational Thoughts and Affirmations, by Virginia Whitmore Price. Can you tell us, where did the mission and how did you discover that this was something that you needed, something else that you needed to do?
Well, as you write, yeah, and this was, I always wanted to be an author. I love books. I love actually books, the turning of the page. Yes. And so it just was so far a reach, I thought. But I had written so much stuff, either in developing sermons or in my matriculation through college. At the age of 53, I started undergrad, and I completed with my dual masters at age of 63.
Look at you.
Yeah. So and then I had a little breather and went back to college and got a doctorate at 72. So yeah, so I had all this work, this body of work that I had written and researched, and it was just so much, and it just kept sitting there and staring me in the face. Uh-huh. So what I did is a compilation of things that touched me. Mm-hmm. Some of the sermons, and my trial sermon is in there. One of those is my trial sermon that I did for as I was being licensed for ministry at Berean. Uh-huh. One of the first women that was licensed. And so this book just is very special to me, because some of them are very transparent in the prayers and the affirmations that I was walking and seeking God. You may see that how personal they are, kind of like the Psalms. I don't want to put myself up there with David, but some of those I felt like those were the times when I was closest to the Lord.
Wow. And I love this chapter up under the essays that says, "This is what the Bible means to me." And I'll just read the last paragraph there. It says, "Today, Christian educators find great challenges in reformatting the original biblical text so that people can relate to it and make it applicable in their lives." Can you give us an example of that?
Yeah, I wanted to show, this is, I don't know if you can see, this is the book. It's called The Talking Book. Can you see it?
Yes, bring it back just a little bit for me, out of the camera, so we can see the bottom. And hold it up. Yes, there we go. Okay, yes, can see it.
This is a textbook that I used in writing what the Bible means to me. That was one of the assignments. And until I actually thought about it, this is a book about African Americans' experiences.
And who is that by?
His name is, let me get the correct, Callahan. Wait just a second. I'll get you.
No problem.
Alan Dwight Callahan.
Okay.
Yeah. And Dr. Callahan paralleled this book by the historical part of African Americans through the Bible. And some of you may know that Bible was used against us during the slavery years, the enslavement time. And it continues today. So my thought was, when I read that, I was so humbled to think that how it has survived and it still ministers today. Yeah. Education is so key, and not just to say you go to church, or if you go to church and read your Bible, what the person who's on the pulpit is speaking, you need to have understanding yourself. Also, it's a privilege to have to disseminate the information that's on those pages, because as I wrote in the book, although that we get it today, we get this, you can go to the bookstore or wherever we get our material, but long time ago, there was pens and ink with people writing each and every word down. Yeah. So I could do it in 2000, so I could read it and use it in 2018. What it means to me is that this is the word of God, and it is just so precious that I can hear it. I can also speak it and help someone else. Yes. Absolutely. And that's what Callahan was doing in his book, to marry the historical account of African Americans' experiences. Even he goes back even to the Israelites, how the book with Moses, the Pentateuch, the promise books, and the first 5 books of the Bible. I just kind of have to bring it down. The 5 books of the Bible, that's what they had. That's what they only had, and how that is still relevant today.
Yes, ma'am. Wow. That's a lot to ingest. Just to, thinking about that, that stood out to me. I guess I highlighted that, and that stood out to me because when I was saying, what is an example of that? Because I see it so often, that how, one person can interpret the Bible one way, but I can absolutely see it in another way. But I think also within reading the Bible, you have to interpret it for your life. Or how
exactly.
you feel, and not necessarily take it on as, and I guess that's why a lot of people, when you have to separate state from church, and people saying this is right or this is wrong, and a lot of times why we see so many of our Christians suffering in silence just because they think they've done so much wrong, and yet they're trying to still live this life that they believe from just hearing and being taught, the word of God. It's just so much. It's hard to all break it down and even put all in this podcast, but it's just, I just wanted that example to let people know you have to read the Bible for yourself, and
that's good
in your life and what the life experiences that you've had, and every time I read it, I read something different. I mean, it could be something that I read in 2010 that it doesn't work for me in 2017.
It's the same scripture. It's the same thing.
What does it mean to you now?
Yes, that was probably one of the most remarkable things that came out of me writing that essay. And after reading the book, the book, what is it called? The talking book. And that's exactly what it is. It's like a live thing. And what it means to me is that I have to know for myself. And that's really what we are tasked to do.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. That's the truth. Okay, so let's talk about your grief journey. Because usually on the show I start with that, but Dr. Price, you just are so amazing.
Oh,
we have to go back a little bit to talk about all the things. And I also want to mention her original basic education was a GED, and now she has a PhD. So I just want to give honor to God for that for you. When you told me that, it just gave me chills, and I'm just like, we can start anywhere. And we can start, and we can continue evolving as this life, as we continue to grow in life. So, tell us about your grief journey.
Yeah, I would say that God is not through with me yet. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. They said I retired in 2008 from Delta Airlines.
Okay.
I'm not answering that part, but retirement, I don't know what that looks like, or it's different for me. So I started from I think back in 1996, working full time for Delta Airlines, and then retired in 2008 to finish my master's program. And when I did that, it was like, okay, I'm done. Every time I say I'm done, God gives me something else. I'm done. So I won't use that anymore. I was like, I'll say, what next, God?
Right.
Because trust me, it has been a journey. Well, now, as I mentioned, I enrolled in a doctoral program. And one of the things the doctoral assignments was to write your dissertation on something that you're passionate about, something that is relatable and then can help someone else. I think those were the three tenets they asked us to formulate our dissertation on. Well, a couple of years before that, my brother died. I come from a family of 6 siblings, 3 girls and 3 boys. And I'm the third child. If any of you know what the third child syndrome does, or I'm a witness. All of that is true. I cried when I realized that somebody else is like me. I have that. It's awesome, but also it's challenging.
Yeah.
So my youngest brother next to me, it was a girl, a boy, a girl, a boy, a boy, and a girl.
Okay.
So the two, myself and my younger brother next to me, we were the middle children, and we felt that. So consequently, we bonded together.
Right.
It was us against everybody else, and in the family dynamics. That's why CPE helped me as well, because it broke down all the myths, the stereotypical conversation or biases or whatever that is about family systems.
Wow.
Because it is true. The first group you're in is your family. And then maybe you're at a group at a church or at a school or in a community, but that gives you your basis of how to live and how to react to other people. And that's your family. And you actually have a space in that. You have, a role, whether you're the parent child or the sheep goat or that there is a specific place. And so that education, it was just invaluable to me. I didn't mind doing the 9 units for CPE because every time that I learned something new, I did a residency down at Atlanta Medical Center, which is a trauma center. And family dynamics, I got to see, I started this journey in St. Joseph's and then Northside. That's all the way on the other side.
Yeah.
And then coming down to the south side in Atlanta Medical Center, I see how the groups, the culture, the different family dynamics are different. So I got to witness the difference. And if you don't have enough knowing what you know, you'll get pulled off the path.
Yeah.
And so seeing that helped me to process a lot of things that I would not have, and then I didn't miss some things that I probably would have if I had not had both experiences. But so talking about my brother, his name was Gaylor Whitmore, Gaylor. Like, I think they had a toy back then, a Gaylor, but he did not have a middle name. All of us have middle names. And if you're African American, you know, you have either one or two.
Right.
You know you're in trouble when your mother calls you your whole name.
Right.
And so we used to tease him about that, not having a middle name. So I got married and left home, and then he went to the military. We're 2 years apart. And in the military, he picked up the name Quick, like the quick brown fox jumped over the whatever, Quick. So we would talk. We wouldn't talk every day, but we were really, really close and had dreams and stuff together. So he moved back to Texas, where we're originally from, and I'm here in Georgia, and I get a call down at Atlanta Medical Center that he's in the hospital and he's not doing well. Well, I would talk to him almost every day or every other day as he's driving. We talk like that 2 or 3 times a week. And I knew that he wasn't feeling well, but I didn't know why.
Okay.
And so when they said he was in the hospital and his organs were shutting down, they were putting him on life support. I said, how can that be? Just last week or so, he was working. Wow. So it comes to find out that he had diabetes and high blood pressure, for which the medication that he was given, he didn't take it. And this is after the fact. So I'm in Georgia, just very angry, and could not get a plane out in time. It wouldn't have done any good. So he was on life support, I think, for 3 days. And when the doctors said there was nothing else that they could, he went very quickly.
Okay. So
he was dead. And after they took him off the life support, within 12 minutes, he was gone.
Wow.
And I was so angry and so they did an autopsy, and the autopsy proved that he just didn't take care of himself. He was a smoker, yes. And so was I at one time. But he was still smoking, still drinking, still doing all the things and eating what he wanted to eat. Yeah. And not taking any of the medication. So he just said, well, I'm not going out like a wimp. I'm going to go out like, that's the last conversation we had. And I was thinking, oh, okay, do I need to come down there? Do I need to come and just, bring you back to Georgia or something? And he said, no. So he had made up his mind early that that's, what it was going to look like. Don't know if he suffered because he went so quickly. I don't know if he suffered before. But all those pieces at the time, I couldn't detangle them. I could just see his face and hear his voice. Yeah. And to make matters even more relatable, we are born 10 days apart. So, 3 days apart. His birthday is on January 10, and I'm on January 13th. So we normally celebrated the whole month. We have a sister that's on the 22nd. He and I always celebrated the whole month, started January 1st. And on January 10 at 12:01, I would call him to wish him a happy birthday. And waiting, so that's one of my triggers, January 13th at 12 midnight, he would have called me. Yeah. And I miss that. I miss my brother and just the little things that come to you. So my grief journey started a couple of years before that. And like I said, I was so angry when I finally got home to the funeral. And I didn't realize how much he had suffered. I saw by his bedside all the medication. He was a veteran. All the medication that was there, he never took it. Wow. Treatable disease. It's treatable. And so me in the medical arena, listening to the doctors and the nurses and seeing people going through dialysis, all of that, I knew that he could live to whatever, but quality of life. That's what he was going for. Wow. So I went in to do my doctoral dissertation on him. Basically was my inspiration.
Okay, so that's where the quick value theory come from, huh?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. I'm sorry. We took a long time to get around
No,
that.
absolutely. You rolled right into your theory, which is called the Quick's value theory. And explain that to us so that the Grief Nation listeners understand what that is.
Yes. So doing my research, I assembled some focus groups of men. And the men was very, and I will say this to their credit, they were very open and honest and just very transparent with me. And I wanted to get my head around, and I tell the same story, but not, it's very concise about why I want to know why you don't go to the doctors. And then the thing is, when you go, and then you do what they say. That would be the back end of it. They were very honest with me. Excuse me. Sorry.
No problem.
So what I come to learn, and I just need to read this line out of my dissertation.
Yes, ma'am.
So I call it the QVT, Quick's Value Theory. And it says the value-driven man will sacrifice life, including his own, to protect and preserve his cherished values.
Yes.
So the cherished values of our men is different than what you see, and that therefore that comes in, and I'm speaking more from a personal journey, in that I could see on the top, he had everything that you would want to live for. Quick had, he had benefits, he had a place to stay, he had a partner, children, all of that. In Texas, and that's where he died. He left Georgia and he wanted to get back to his roots. And so his girlfriend, they went back, and I said, okay, you got that. So there's, I'm thinking he's set, he's doing what he wants to do.
Yeah.
But I believe that he had some idea before he left Georgia that something was not right. And so he never took the time to talk to people, get an understanding. Well, just to say that his value theory was not totally off key, but how to articulate it. I think that was where the disconnect came. Now, I guess he may have started taking some of the medication, and he couldn't perform sexually like he wanted to. Or it made him slow down, or maybe the two together. And that's what I found out. The blood pressure medicine that men are given, and this came out in the focus group, makes men sexually impotent.
Okay.
And that was like, what? Okay, so you marry that with the diabetes medication, and they have to give you doses to counteract each other.
Yeah.
So that's how they live. And that's not living, because from what I understand, and I'm being very candid here, there is a time that they can take the medication where they can perform, but sometimes it's not the right time.
Right. Absolutely.
And so, and there are challenges with that. If you're married, if you're in a relationship, or just what you're used to.
Yeah.
And so that messed with his mind. I understand, and I mean that's from what the other men talks about. Yeah. And so the quick value theory, we came up with cherished values. Now their values go way, way back, and I have the iceberg theory for me to process all the things we see on top of the iceberg, whether we see them laughing or talking, or maybe they may be a little sick, but they're not debilitated. And then they'll talk about some of the tests, like the prostate cancer test is very dehumanizing. Yeah. And sometimes the doctors don't talk to them the way, talk down to them like you should know it. This is what some of the evidence came out of the focus group. There was so much information about how or their experience. And we're women, we go to the doctor a lot.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk to if we're going to get to, if sometimes we take our questions in with us, we're written down to the doctors.
We're prepared. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But some of the men, and especially African-American men, have been raised to say, I am the head of my family. I have to take care of my family. I'm macho. And that question, that answer was in every focus group.
Yes.
Macho and ego.
Mm-hmm.
So in your mind, in your libido, men are thinking from birth that they are superhuman.
Yeah.
And so how do we as their wives and their daughters and mothers
mm-hmm.
think about that?
Yeah.
As we're raising Black men, part of that is the reality of our culture. And so not thinking about there is so many other perceptions that's below that iceberg in the water that you can't see,
mm-hmm.
that's hurting them. And so part of why they can't go to the doctor is, and I'm going to read some of that.
Yes, go right ahead.
Sense of self-worth, that's below the waterline.
Mm-hmm.
Courage. Fear was the number one. Fear was the number one of that. And I can't see your copy.
I just want to put it on video so that others can see it. That's fine. And I'll put this part of us talking about it out. But yeah, I really want people to see your perspective and what it looked like. But yes, you please continue of what's below the line.
Yeah, on the I don't know if some of you remember the Titanic and so this is the same image, the metaphor that I use in preparing that because it blindsided me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm dealing from a very personal level because I know these just like you know your husbands and your children, your brothers and your son. Blindsided to think that someone could take a pill that could prolong their life, but they refuse to take it.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was my reality because I knew that, okay, although that's not the best way to live, but you're living, I did not understand the below the waterline.
Yeah.
And so what he was doing was had self-doubt. And it's a shameful experience. Some of them go through shameful experiences if they can't perform.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then that's going to just deteriorate their minds even more.
Yeah.
And then, you know, when they talk about age, their age, that's always kind of out there when you're 19 to 20.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're strong and virile and all of that. But what makes this different is that even at that age, you still can experience some of these, they call it erectile dysfunctions.
Yes. Due
to medication.
Wow.
And you don't know it. You don't even know it. And then some of the participants said that they weren't told that was the culprit. Mm-hmm. The medications not working in conjunction to what needed to happen for that individual.
And so what are some of the other like stigmas around Black men not going to the doctor? Is it just lack of education? What happened? You know, why?
Well, I want to step back for a moment and say one of the things that I think when I did my research was that because the Tuskegee experiment back in the day, mm-hmm. When you hear about that, I don't want to say everyone, how they were used as guinea pigs for the disease of sexually transmitted disease, syphilis. Mm-hmm. And some of them died and they were guinea pigs, and then that went on for over 10 years.
Yeah.
And it was sanctioned by the U.S. government. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, therein lies that hesitation, that stigma of saying, oh, yeah, okay, I'm not going to be a guinea pig.
Yeah.
So they would do one or two things. Okay, this medicine is not doing me any good, mm-hmm. but I don't want them to give me something else that may be either a placebo, or it could be harmful. So that's real. That's the fear they say, and I get that. And down through the years, those types of things have happened. One man said, I don't really want to take a shot, a hypodermic needle, because I don't know, even though it's a reputable doctor, I don't even go to the doctor. Some men just won't even go, period, because of the stigma. And then you have, on the other hand, the historical piece, but you also have the day-to-day piece where you're dealing with a lot of racism. That's number one, racism. And you also have the gender piece where there are female counterparts. Okay, so you go to a female doctor. Okay, let's do this scenario. An African-American man that has some issues sexually performing. And I keep bringing that up because that's just one of the things that goes through. But so this doctor, he has this insurance that only allows him to see certain doctors. And the doctor that was a female doctor, a white female doctor, female, Caucasian, or another race. Well, two things that happen. If it's a Caucasian woman, she's not going to feel very empathetic to him and talk down to him, and is as if, okay, well, suck it up, bud, go ahead and go on. And maybe that's a little crass. If you have someone else, and this came out too, of another culture, say Indian or German or something like that, they have no clue of the history. They may know medicine, but they don't know the culture.
Right. And all of this information came from the focus group of how they felt, correct? How they were
absolutely feeling.
So yes, it was a broad range of men that was going through, having these problems, going to medical help, turning to medical help for whatever they were seeing the doctor for, and this was the outcomes.
Yes, the outcomes was phenomenal. And as I said, when I was just like a limp noodle, and I cried because I could hear my brother, although he didn't articulate it, they did it for me.
Yeah.
And so now I'm on this train, and I'm not going to get off, because that is, oh my God, that is just so wrong.
Absolutely. And I'm sure a majority of the time we're thrown into our calling because of something that we grieved so heavily, just because we want an answer. We just want the answers to why, but we want to see others live differently. And like you said, you want it to people not to give up, men not to give up, and go to the doctor and finding the right doctor. But sometimes we have to be the ones. We're the leader of our health and our spirituality, but we have to sometimes be the ones to make sure we do all those things. Like you said, women, we make sure we write down the questions. We're gonna, see how many years this doctor has been practicing medicine. We're going to take the time out. But of course, men don't do that. But how can women or a partner or spouse help our men that don't want to go to the doctor? How can we encourage? What do we do to continue encouraging them and to not feel the way that they're feeling? Not to say we're discrediting their feelings, but what can we do as their partners to help them?
I am so glad you asked that, Miami. That is, oh my gosh, that was also revelatory. And I just do want to say this, and this is so important for the wives and partners. If you're in a relationship, the one thing you don't want to do is to do the blame and shame for them, because this is real for them. You should go to the doctor, or you don't need to have sex. I mean, start with the empathy of saying there is a problem. Let us work together. Be very passionate about listening to maybe what he's not saying or what he's not doing, but not dumping that all on him as to you should, you need to. That kind of language tears him down and pushes him further away. We want to keep them here alive. There was a statistic done about, and I don't believe that there was, I think, 7 Black men for every woman in Atlanta, Georgia, and that's, I saw that some while back. I don't believe that. I'm a one woman, and it only takes one man for me.
That's right.
So, I'm listening that way. If you have a man and that's the way you love that whatever relationship it is, cultivate it, love it, and just get you some information. And that's what I read, everything that you can read, but don't talk down to him. This is what I've done. You're in that together.
Yeah.
So treat him and your son and your brothers, be concerned. Let him know that you're really, really with him, and encourage him to talk and seek counseling or seek coaching, so he can go to the doctors. And when he goes to the doctors, he will know what questions to ask. That's the key right there.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because I'm definitely guilty of telling my husband, you should go to the doctor. You need to, if it's hurting, then you should, and I guess this because women, we're so accustomed to going and it's not an issue for us. But now that I'm looking at it differently, how, and what you're saying, and you're just bringing more awareness to me of how I should be with my, with my own, like, okay, if there is listen for what I'm not, be attentive to listening to, like you said, what he's not saying. That's important. I just got it. Listen to what he's not saying.
Yeah.
Ready out there.
I know, but at the end of the day, it's all about all the stuff that he's dealing with that you don't even know. Although you've been married 20 years, it's still that stuff below the waterline. Yeah, he's top in his game. He goes to the gym every day. He works. He goes to church or whatever that's important to you. To you now. Yeah. But what's important to him is below the waterline. We need to address that.
Trust me, that hits home with me. That hit home with me for my son, because like I thought I was seeing everything, on top of the surface. Fine, everything was fine. We talked about everything, but below the surface was the things that he wasn't.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. We did kind of touch on Griefshare, and you told us the importance of it. And if I'm correct, Griefshare is it's a Christian. It speaks from the Christian church perspective, and it's available just for churches. Can you kind of?
No, it is Christian based. It's Christ centered, Christian based. What it is, is Church Initiative Incorporated.
Okay.
That's the parent company. You can Google griefshare.org and get all the information. It's not only for churches, but as the churches have people that are grieving, this is a good concept to help people that are grieving. It's not a teaching a class. It's not a closed group or anything like this. Open. You come and go. Each lesson is built upon each other. They're individual, standalone, facilitator-led topics.
Okay.
And each week, for the 13 weeks, we'll talk about, is it normal? Hold on, I'm going to step away.
Okay.
This is the workbook that I was talking about. Can you see it?
Yes.
And through this workbook, like I said, 13 weeks is a commitment, and you should at least go through 3 weeks of this book. And it has things in it that is not unfamiliar to some people, but the process, you will watch a video. The video is facilitator led, and it's about 30 minutes. In that video, you will hear people talking about different topics and how everyone, even there's psychiatrists, there's counselors, there's pastors, there's just lay people talking about their journey.
Okay.
And it's relatable.
Okay.
And some of the topics they talk about is like, is it normal? Challenges of grief, the journey of grief, grief in your relationships, and what everybody wants to know why. No matter it all depends on the relationship and the type of way that your person transition. Why?
Yeah.
Oh, you know, Taylor deals about the why question, and it talks about being stuck.
Yeah.
People are stuck.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lesson in that. And it talks about the complicating factors of grief, complicated factors of what do you do and how do you process that. And then my favorite one is heaven. And it talks about when, you know, so it is biblically based.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at some of the things that you think about on a day-to-day basis until you yourself faces a transition, whatever kind, if it's sudden or long, if it's unexpected or expected, there are some questions around how you should behave, what's your emotion, whatever the 5 stages of grief, and it doesn't come in 1, 2, 3, it could be 5, 3, whatever. And so this, and as I said, it was a very structured class, and I think that's what Pastor Kevin saw, and he wanted to bring that, and we've been doing it at our church for 7 years.
Let me ask you, a person that, say, just lost their mother, and is it true that they need to, before they jump into a program, say like Griefshare, I know it's an amazing program, what should they do in between that time before they can actually get there, or you know, because a lot of times I know people want to force stuff on you, and it's a brilliant program, but what happens in between that time of your loss and then you getting there?
That's a very good question too. You asking some wonderful questions.
Thank you.
I thank you. It's pulling things out of me. I just want to say this from experience. It all depends on how and how long, in my opinion, if it's a spouse or a child or whatever. But if it's say an illness over 6 months, you may have already started to grieve at that point. So yeah, you would be a good candidate for that. You know, you would know, because I think what happens with us African Americans, I know you have a broad, diversified audience, but it's just speaking from the African American side, death is one of our topics that we don't typically talk about a lot. So when you have someone to transition, to pass away, you need time to wrap your head around that. We try to encourage you to know that that's normal. That's a normal process.
Yes, ma'am.
You're born and then you die. No one gets out of this world alive. And so that's a normal process. But in the meantime, our compassion and empathy for you allows you to know that was a special person in your life and at a special time in your life. All of that wrapped up. It won't go away. So, but we're trying to get you to live on this side until it's time for you to go.
Yeah.
Because you still have to live. And some people think that they're ready and they're not. And I get that. And so sometimes if I'm able to ask, how long has your loved one passed? And if they're saying it was just, and we've had people to come through within a month. And sometimes that didn't work out for me because it was too fresh.
Yeah.
So it's all based upon the individual. It's based upon the relationship, basically. That's the bottom line. What type of relationship did you have? Because this process does touch some very raw areas.
Okay.
And I don't mean to be raw as that they will tear it open, but in a very professional way and in very Christian manner.
Okay, thank you so much. See, that goes right into you being a certified life coach and giving us some skills. I was just going to ask you, what were some skills and some supporting ways to help people just outside, not just in grief, but because you are also a certified life coach, do you have any concepts or tools that a person that's trying to fulfill or wanting to fulfill personal and professional planning, just one tip or two or so?
Yeah, one of the things as my life coach skills, knowing what the right question to ask.
Mm-hmm.
You come to me as a counselee, and you tell me, so what I'm looking for is what you want, and the tools and techniques I use will empower you to find the answer within yourself.
Yes.
Because you got the answer. I'm just going to be coaching you to bring it forth, and that will be, whatever it is, and I just help you discover what your own personal best is, and that's going to be the goal. Yeah. And so I'm with you there to the end. Also, I want you to learn some of the choices that you make, good or bad, but whatever that is, it will help you create to be effective.
Okay.
In fulfilling some of those goals that you set out to do.
Wow, I like that you said that. Good or bad, no matter what they were, the choices that we made, it's still rooted in where we're going, right? It's still rooted in where we're going. It's still rooted in our calling, no matter if it was good or bad, right?
If it was good or bad, right.
Wow. Ooh, I like that. So what's coming up next for you?
And I just wanted to say, what I do is help you to connect your head with your heart. That is so key when you're doing a life-changing coach. And this is what I do. I enhance you. That's my tagline, enhancing you to connect your head and your heart. So that one unit can take you to the goal that you wanted to do.
Oh, wow. Now, I love that when we talk about this heart space,
Yes.
And the crown. You talk about the crown and the heart space. Okay, now come on, girl.
Connect. We're gonna connect the dots. Okay.
That's right. So what's coming up next for you?
Okay, two things I wanted to mention that's coming up next. We have, I will be part of a forum, and it's held in Lawrenceville, Georgia. Can I give the address?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, it's this Saturday, the 23rd, and it's going to be at 95 Constitution Boulevard in Lawrenceville, Georgia, and it's free. It's a free community forum. Several speakers will be there. I will be at the Berean table. And so what this does, it's a mental health forum talking about teen dating, relationships, and safety at school. So we have a gambit. We'll have speakers to present different topics, and they'll give you the opportunity to ask questions and see what resources are available if you are experiencing some of that. I do want to say it's from 10 to 3. But it's a free lunch. So we will feed you, come and get the information, and visit the vendors. We have just a plethora of different vendors that are going to be part of that. And like I said, I'll be representing the Berean table. Come by the table, and I'll be talking about my ministry that I'm launching as well. So please, if you can come by, and I guess you'll give them my information before I leave.
Yes, ma'am.
And the last thing is I'm launching the new business, and all my website, all my information will be up shortly, if it's not already. I'm working on that, and that is my consulting business. So look out for that as well. And I welcome all of you, Grief Nation, to get in touch with me if you have any concerns or comments. I welcome all of that.
Yes, and I'll definitely, by the time this video is up, we'll double back with the new updated information of Dr. Price's resources and how to get in contact with her. But before I let you go, I always ask this question so that we can kind of tie in all of our points. What has your attention in the grief world, and that you would like to see change or bring more awareness to?
I would like to see the medical field think about or do some prototype of how people feel, the feelings that go into when you go to any medical provider. The best you could, the least that you could expect is dignity, and give me the attention as a human being. No matter if I have insurance or not.
Yes.
I see that a lot. I've seen that a lot. And as we treat each other along the way, that's the same thing that we should be doing, to treat, to live the life that we want people to be proud of, and One of the things what my mother used to say, give me my roses while I can yet smell them.
Yes.
And that's pretty much, if you treat people right, hopefully they will treat you at the same. But if they don't, just pray for them. And as Jesus says, shake the dust off, because there's much work to be done out here.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Price, for coming on the show and giving us all of the wisdom nuggets that you provided for us. And Dr. Price and I are trying to come together working together to come up with a series for you guys. And we don't know what that looks like, but we're just going to honor the call and see how that
Yes.
works out, to bring more awareness, and especially that surrounds her research for the research for her dissertation in regards to this iceberg perspective. I think that's very important. I really want our African-American men to understand the theology behind this whole going to the doctor concept, and why it's important, not only to yourself, but to your families, and so that you can continue to be strong. We know that's, like you said, that's what their root is, of being strong, being the head. But we want to be able, as wives and mothers and daughters and sisters to these men, we want to see that through and through. So I just thank you so much for the information that you provided for us today. And I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. I thank you, Miami. You was a godsend, and I thank you so very much. And we're just going to continue our conversation and our relationship. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good one.
Let me have you on. Bye-bye.